Waiting for perfect conditions is actually quite stressful and painful. It puts you in an obsessive perfectionistic loop. And what I want to suggest is doing something different. And that is stop waiting for perfect conditions and work with what you have. Because the reality is that perfect conditions rarely exist. And the norm is actually chaotic, it's unpredictable and messy. Like, just think about life in general. Is it easy? Does it flow smoothly all the time? Or is it kind of wild? Is it kind of chaotic? Does it move around a lot? Like, this is actually probably more in alignment with an accurate picture of reality. And that is just that you need to get okay with being messy. I think that we oftentimes are just waiting for things to be optimal, waiting for things for the stars to just align perfectly. And, the real trick, I think, is going to be starting with wherever you are right now, right here today. So I'll share an example, actually. This is my first time recording a full length recording. And I have actually been talking about doing this for over a year now. And in that time, I have found the perfect lighting. I have found the good camera. I have found the nice microphone. But you know what I haven't done? I haven't actually recorded. Like, I'm doing so right now. And, if I had this to do over again, I think I would have started, 8 months ago, exactly where I was. So there is actually like a real power to working with what you have. If you're trying to endlessly optimize, endlessly achieve perfectionism, it's just going to lead to dead ends and frustration. It will be quite painful, actually. So, I think of, some of the famous artists out there, Jean-Michel Basquiat being one of them, who was just prolific. He would pick up garbage off of the street and work with it. He would play with it. He would make magic out of it. There's this famous saying, make bad art, right? So, like, it's better to do, 100 imperfect repetitions of something than zero. This is just something that I think cannot be overlooked enough. Just getting experience, going out, doing the thing that you're afraid of doing, because that's probably the reality, is that you're likely afraid of making a mistake. You're afraid of being looked at in a bad way. We start our lives oftentimes, even in school, where, we are given grades. We're expected to get A's, right? Or there's this comparison that happens that is actually very unhealthy as far as making progress. And the act of actually just starting forces you to innovate, to problem solve. And I would even argue, find your voice, find your style. And, this could be anything from an artistic endeavor to going to the gym, right? Like, when I go to the gym, I see people working out many different ways, right? Like, some people like to go on the Stairmaster for 45 minutes, which is a great workout, while other people are, doing squats and deadlifts. Other people are doing yoga. Other people are dancing, right? So, like, find your style, find your way of working that suits you. But the only way to do that is actually starting. And I think what I have experienced and what I've seen many other people experience is that you don't think that you have enough. And the key here is that you do have enough. You are enough. You can get going and you can start on something. Those perfect conditions that you're waiting for may never come. You could spend your entire life waiting for the perfect conditions to arise. And, I'll say having optimal conditions are great, but I actually think that there's more to be learned from having difficult conditions, right? Like, think about people who have really grown and achieved amazing things. Like, this is probably almost cliche to say, but adversity is the thing that creates character, right? Like, if everything was easy, if you had everything handed to you, then you're not going to grow. But it's actually the struggle and the process of getting messy that will help you grow. So just kind of get okay with the fact that it's going to be hard. You're going to struggle. And, that's easier said than done. But I think my invitation here is going to start small. Start with some small steps. And I will share some ideas here shortly. But I just want to emphasize again that clarity is going to come to you through movement, not from waiting, not from staying static, not from doing, next to nothing. Clarity will come to you the more you get going. Oftentimes, the problems that you think are problems don't actually end up being as problematic as you thought. And the things that you thought might help you may not be the things that are going to help you. So, for instance, going back to my example here, I definitely bought way too much gear than I needed. And honestly, most of that stuff is sitting in a corner gathering dust right now. And what I've found is that I like to, I do better personally through having less, through simplicity. And I could only know that through movement, through getting going, through getting started. I have heard people describe procrastination as being kind of like a slow, painful death. And I know that sounds extreme, right? But think about like when you were young and you had to do homework or something and you just sat there not doing it, not doing it, not doing it, right? Like you have this like pit in your stomach that you feel. And, I think if there's something that's really important in your life, like you're going to feel it. Like doing important things oftentimes is like it hurts if you don't do them. And it's scary to get started on them. And that's actually a good sign. That's a sign that you're on the right path. So keep going. Make that first step. So I want to give you a behavioral experiment. This is an actionable thing that you can do to actually help with all of this. And the first thing that I'm going to suggest is that you do something bad for 1 hour a day for the next week. So make this commitment, and you could actually even start with just trying 5 minutes if that's easier. I've often found that if I just do that thing that I'm struggling with for just 5 minutes, that 5 minutes can easily turn into 5 hours. And that happens because the thing that I thought was going to be so hard or so challenging actually ends up being something that I'm really, really enjoying. Such as what I'm doing right now. Like I'm actually having a wonderful time recording this right now. And the next thing that's going to be a little bit more challenging is that I'm going to invite you to actually share what you've done imperfectly with someone or a group of people. I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to be posting this on multiple platforms. If you're enjoying this, please, stay tuned. There will be more. But share what you have done imperfectly with a group of people. Another one that I think can be really challenging is to actually let your space get a little bit messy. If you're someone who's super clean, I'm going to ask you to try this out, right? Like if you have a desk, actually let it get super messy and do the work anyway. If you're actually someone who's like super, messy, I actually, the point here is to try something different. So maybe clean up a little bit, but try working in different conditions is I think the point here. And don't let the conditions get in the way. Find the thing that's optimal for you, or challenge yourself to lean into a kind of different way of doing things. The last thing I want to do is I want to share a metaphor here with you all. It's an invitation. It's a call to action. And that's that I want you to be the sailors who build their ships on the open sea. So think about that image for a moment, right? Like you are out on the ocean of life, which is challenging, which is difficult, and you are building that thing that's going to move you through as you're going. That may not sound practical, right? Like, yeah, of course, you should probably have a perfectly built ship when you go out to sea, but this is kind of like life, right? Like we are all building our lives. We are all building our capacity to change, to grow, to evolve, and to do different things in our life. And, the sad kind of or maybe scary reality is that our ships have already set sail. This is the kind of life that we have. It's what we kind of have right now. This is what we are born with. This is what we're moving with, and all of our ships will eventually sink. Right? Like, life is short. Time is limited. Right? Time is a resource that we all wish we probably had more of. So I just want you to consider that, having perfect conditions is not exactly what you need. And instead, I want to invite you to be on that sinking ship, be on that ship that you are building as you are growing, as you are learning, and make friends with this challenging fact that life is imperfect and that time is limited. There's a real utility in being open to the fact that life is not perfect, that life by nature is suboptimal, and learning to live from this place, to create, to do, to act anyway, despite these suboptimal conditions, is really powerful and really potent. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video or recording, please like and subscribe. If you are on Spotify, please leave a review. If you are listening to this on YouTube, I totally invite you to leave a comment. Let me know how you have engaged with this. Let me know how what this brings up for you. And if you do any of those experiments, I would really love to hear how that went. Okay, thank you.